Hello peoples of the internet and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today, as we talk about the title, we're going to be talking about gender dysphoria. And what on earth is that? Well, to start, gender dysphoria is what medically makes somebody transgender. It is the kind of scientific medical explanation for why trans people exist and why people, so many people all over the world feel as though that they are not the gender that they were assigned as at birth. So yeah, the definition of gender dysphoria according to Google is gender dysphoria is a term that describes a sense of unease that a person may have because of a mismatch between their biological sex and their gender identity. What that means is basically, for instance, let's say someone born female, like myself. I was born female, but as I got older, I started experiencing a lot of discomfort and just a lot of discomfort with being a girl, and I hated the thought of being female. I hated everything about it. I hated being referred to as female. I hated being referred to with she, her pronouns. I hated everything that involved being a girl. It made me very uncomfortable, angry at times as well, just because I was just like, why? That's not me, At the time, obviously, I was young. I didn't know what being transgender was yet, but it definitely created a lot of resentment and anger towards some people in my life. But yeah, as I got older and started kind of coming into myself, I went to the internet, did some research, and learned about what being transgender was, learned about gender dysphoria and all that stuff, and it truly helped me figure out who I am. And I realized that when I was 7 years old, that I myself am female to male transgender. So that's kind of the story about how that all happened. But yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about what gender dysphoria is like, and that's kind of for a trans person. You see a lot of articles and hear a lot of stories of people talking about gender dysphoria, but they've never gone through it. It's a lot of cis people talking about that, done research on it. You don't really see articles written by trans people about gender dysphoria. So, I'm going to talk about a little bit of my own dysphoria that I've experienced in my life. Well, let's just stem back to the beginning, I guess. I was young. I was like 7, 8 years old, and everything first started kicking off for me when I first really realized what this was, and it was very bad, because back then I had long hair. I was, my chest was just starting to grow. A few years later, it was a hard time for sure, it was right before puberty, 8 years old, 9 years old. Started going through puberty around 11, it's just an interesting time, and especially when you kind of first realize this about yourself, it's the hardest, because you think you're crazy, you think that you're ill, you think that you're the only one that's like this. It's like the most isolating feeling I think ever. It's definitely was the beginning of a very dark time for me, and as I got older and kind of even coming to terms with myself even more and being more comfortable with myself, I eventually came out to my friends and my family, and that's when I was able to start getting the haircuts and the binders and everything like that. But before that, I wore the same outfit all the time, like 24/7. I would walk around in the same hoodie, same pair of jeans, and the same pair of Vans for many years. It was like a really big oversized hoodie, could not see my chest, and that was like my dysphoria hoodie. But yeah, pretty much something that trans guys do to kind of hide their chest in a way. And actually, I have my dysphoria hoodie here with me. This is the hoodie. I'm not focused. Okay, this is a hoodie that I wore like every day, everywhere I went, with like this pair of red Vans I still have that are so beat up, like they are disgusting. And that was a hoodie. That was my dysphoria hoodie. I wore that hoodie every day, everywhere I went. Every time I left the house, I was in that hoodie because it just hid my chest so well. That's pretty much what trans guys have. Dysphoria hoodies to cover their chest when they're, before they're able to bind and kind of flatten their chest. It's usually a pretty oversized hoodie that is very baggy and makes you seem really boxy and just kind of bigger than you actually are, because it just hides everything. It's like a big blanket, and it was very helpful at the time. But yeah, that was probably the worst time of my dysphoria, the thing I'm most dysphoric about, my chest. And also back then it was my voice. My voice is something that I've struggled with for a very long time. I have trained my voice to be deeper, and I do talk deeper than my actual voice is, which I will admit has caused some issues with my voice. I used to get, in the beginning of me doing that, I used to get a lot of throat pain, and I'd constantly have a sore throat all the time, and it has happened to me sometimes now, but not as much because my voice has gotten used to it. But in the beginning, it was really a hard time for my voice, and I just kind of became very self-conscious about the things that I did and the way that I talked. Women typically talk more with their hands and this, that, and the other, and I just tried not to do that, and I tried to talk in the most masculine way possible. And times where I sense to my voice going a little higher, I would absolutely freak out, and I still do that sometimes, not as bad though. But yeah, I'm fortunate enough now that I passed fairly well, but back then, prior, I did a lot of things, like with the Dysphoria hoodies and my voice and the way I walked, the way I talked. I was completely conscious of everything that I did, everything that I said, and it was definitely a stressful time to be that self-aware. Yes, self-awareness is a good thing, but there's also a limit, being overly self-aware. I shouldn't have had to be aware of all those things, and I still do that. I still, when I'm around people, especially groups at school or whatever, I'll definitely make sure that my voice stays low, kind of like how it is now. Around certain people, I do let my voice go a little higher, and I kind of talk more my natural voice, give myself a break. I do that really only around my girlfriend, but other than that, I still keep my voice pretty low at all times. I'm not as self-conscious of me talking with my hands. I've accepted that's something I do now. I talk with my hands and kind of just articulate certain things through motion and everything like that. And I've kind of accepted that part about myself, and it's really just a learning game, honestly. You just kind of have to find what makes you comfortable and what relieves dysphoria for you, especially prior to hormones or binding or surgeries or whatever it might be. You get creative. You get creative for sure. And yeah, I still struggle with dysphoria every day of my life. Just this past week, it's been pretty bad. As of when I'm filming this, the week that this past week has been kind of hell dysphoria wise, and it's been a struggle, and then probably next week I'll be completely fine. That's kind of how my dysphoria works. It's 1 week to the next, or I'll have a few weeks of feeling really good, then a few weeks of feeling really bad. It just kind of, varies. The way I describe my dysphoria is a roller coaster, because one day I'll be on a high and feel great, and then the next day I'll be completely low, and then I'll be really low for a few days, and then go back up, and then drop again, and then it's that happens all the time. That's kind of how my weeks go. Usually I don't really talk about it to people in my life. I act as though I'm completely fine all the time, which is that healthy? No. Do I continue to do it? Yes. It's just something that I've always done, that I'm trying to get out of the habit of doing, and actually kind of expressing how I feel. If I'm not feeling well, just show that, none of my friends, the people around me, are gonna be fine with that, and they're gonna judge me for it, because I am human. Humans feel bad sometimes. It's a normal thing. We're not always jumping around happy joking all the time. That's not normal. It's not natural. No human's like that. Every human has bad days, and they feel like crap sometimes, and just bleh. They just feel bleh. That's that's just the best way to feel, explain it. And I definitely have to get better at communicating that. But I'd say I've gotten better. It's taken time, but I've definitely gotten better. But I also want to pull across that there is no right or wrong way to feel dysphoria, and I say this because dysphoria is very individual to everybody. You're not always going to feel dysphoric about the same thing as other trans guys. It's kind of what that means is me personally, I feel very dysphoric about my chest and my bottom and just a lot of things like that. But there's a lot of trans guys that aren't uncomfortable with their bottom half. I've seen on the internet a bunch of times where trans guys with top surgery but won't ever get bottom surgery because they're not dysphoric with that part of themselves enough to where they would want to get surgery. And this is a big thing, and a big thing to think about when it comes to medically transitioning, because surgeries are scary. Honestly, they are. You are going through this big thing. You're being put under anesthesia. You're changing your body. It's it's a big thing. It's irreversible. It's a very big decision when it comes to surgeries, and that should not be taken lightly. It's a scary thing, definitely. Every surgery is risky. Every surgery, no matter how big or small, it's risky. If you're getting put under anesthesia for X amount of time, it's scary. You don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know, you just don't know what's gonna happen or anything like that. It's definitely a scary feeling thinking about. Definitely knowing that and definitely knowing that I'm gonna have to do that at a point in my life. And it does suck that the only way for me to feel comfortable with myself and truly be who I am is to do that, is to go through that. It sucks. I wish I didn't have to do all that, because it's scary, man. I'm nervous for when it comes to the surgery portion of my life. Of course I'm excited, and to get top surgery and everything like that, it sounds so amazing to finally have a chest that I've always wanted, but at the same time that process sounds terrifying to me. So don't kind of force yourself to be dysphoric about things. And what I mean by that is, if you're someone who isn't dysphoric about their bottom half, but a lot of trans guys, or you've seen a lot of trans guys that are, that doesn't mean that you have to be. There's no right or wrong way to feel dysphoria, and that means it's just whatever makes you uncomfortable, whatever makes you dysphoric, okay, it's completely valid. You are still trans. If you are not dysphoric about your bottom half, you're good. You're not faking it. You're not, crazy. You're not lying. Whatever you may think, you're not. You're just not uncomfortable with that part of your body, which is a good thing. Because being uncomfortable with everything about yourself is not fun. I would love to not be able, I would love to be able to not be uncomfortable with at least one part of my body, because it's stressful sometimes. It's annoying to just constantly feel crappy and not feel comfortable with yourself, and looking in the mirror and just be like, dude, no, that's just wrong. It's definitely a interesting thing, dysphoria. It's really hard to describe, to be honest. This video was definitely difficult to plan, I will admit, just because of it's hard to verbalize this, rather just because honestly it's just an indescribable feeling. If you've never gone through it, it's pretty hard to understand. I will be completely honest with you, but I'm trying my best here to help people that don't understand dysphoria, or people that have dysphoria and don't really understand it about themselves, how it's and you're not alone. If you are a trans kid who's just learning this about themselves and don't really know what dysphoria is, you're not alone. I feel it, and you can go on the internet, on YouTube right here, and find so many more trans guys that have felt the exact same way their entire lives, and there's no such thing as being too young to know. I've known this since I was a little kid. I've known that I was different since I was a little kid. I only learned what being transgender was when I was 7, but I had known that something was off, I guess you can say, prior to that. It just took me some years to figure it out. So yeah, don't force yourself to be dysphoric about things. Don't invalidate yourself if you're not dysphoric about something, but other trans guys are. It's a very individual and personal thing. Next up, I want to talk about a very big misconception that comes with gender dysphoria that a lot of people that don't have gender dysphoria assume. The misconception is that sexual orientation and gender identity, are the same thing. They're not. Your sexual orientation is who you're attracted to. Man, woman, non-binary person, whoever it may be, is who you're attracted to sexually, and just attractiveness in general, all that. Your gender identity is who you are, who you identify as, man, woman, non-binary, whatever. That's kind of what that means, and a lot of people kind of put it together. An example of this is when a trans guy transitions. He is male, he's a guy, but still dates men. I've seen people ask them, or I've seen in comments of videos why you transition, you're still gonna date men? You should just been a straight girl rather than a gay guy. But the thing is, it's the problem wasn't who they were attracted to. The problem was them. The problem was who they are. They're not female. He is not a girl. And I'll use myself as an example. I was born female. Yes, I have a girlfriend. We are in a straight relationship. And I say this because I'm her boyfriend. She is my girlfriend. That's it. We're in a straight relationship. A lot of people would be like, oh, you're in a lesbian relationship because I was born female. But that's not really how it works. I identify as male. I look male. Come on now. I look male. I've passed as male. Everything about me is a guy, So therefore, I'm a guy, I identify as a guy. That's just what it is. We're in a straight relationship. Just because trans people were born the opposite sex doesn't affect their sexual orientation in the relationships in the future. So if a trans guy and a cis girl are in a relationship, they're in a straight relationship. If a trans guy and a cis guy are in a relationship, they are in a gay relationship. If a trans girl and a cis girl are in a relationship, they're in a lesbian relationship. See what I'm saying, kids? I think you guys understand. But yeah, they're not the same thing. Sexual orientation and gender identity are two very different things. Yes, both involve gender in a way, but not in the same way. But yeah, just want to get that point across, you know, because it's a very common misconception that I've seen all over the internet in the last 7 years. So, yeah, that's pretty much what gender dysphoria is and everything that it includes. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like it if you liked it. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Like, hit the button. Help me out. You know, watch my videos. Educate yourself a little bit on trans people. You know, some more education won't do you any harm. It'll just help you out. So I'm just trying to help you out. Like, I'm doing this for you guys, you know? So, yeah. So make sure to like this video, subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.